Thank you, Terry, for coming and spending a bit of time with us today talking about the Wim Hof breathing method. If you could just briefly just summarise your journey so far that kind of brought you to doing the Wim Hof breathing method.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's been a journey, and I was coming up three years-ish now, and it all started me trying to fix myself, as a lot of people that come into this sort of thing, isn't it? Trying to fix myself. I couldn't find anything that was easy to apply, that didn't mean talking therapies or taking pills and other stuff. I just gave up on it. And my partner said to me, she saw a TV program, and it was Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall. You remember him that did the River Cottage?
Yeah.
And he was presenting a program, and he did this. He got the short straw, and he had to do cold showers. This doctor told him, "You've got the cold. You're doing the cold showers." And he was suffering and struggling with depression and anxieties in his brain and all sorts of. So he went into the cold shower, hated it. By the end of the week, 10 days, he liked it. By the summing up of the end of the program, 2 months later, he was doing wild swimming in winter with all these other people, turned around to the camera and said, "I'm converted for life. It's completely changed my..." So next morning, I was in the shower, and I couldn't do the cold shower incrementally because I built the shower and I didn't do it right. And I couldn't use hot water. We hadn't got any hot water. So I didn't have to worry. I just turned the shower on cold, climbed in, and there we are. And that was it. And something happened. Once, the first one was uncomfortable, and that sort of, the shock. And then the next day, and we filmed it, my family were there with me, and we had a laugh with it. And then the next day I went in, and by the end of the week, I was in 3 minutes, head in, and loved it. It's just amazing. And I was tearful when I got out the first time, what I found. And of course that week led me to research cold. I found Wim, found breath, put the Wim Hof breathing to the cold, and had another level of, wow, this is unbelievable. And that research led to me going to see another Wim Hof instructor over in Birmingham, and I literally was sat in a room with 16 other people, and I was in the middle, and I was going for I've been doing quite a bit of the breathing, so I was relaxed with it and understood it, and I just started crying, and I cried and sobbed. It was like a floodgate, guys. It was just the most amazing thing.
Is this your first time doing it?
Yeah, first time doing it with a guide.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been working on my own and experimenting, and I've been in a guide, and it kind of makes a big difference. It frees you up, and you feel like you kind of relax more because you're just in that. And something happens when you're in a group. You'll know this with what you guys do.
Yeah, guided is quite important as well.
I didn't want to stop. And you know what we blokes are like, and any blokes that go, you bottle it up, carry it in your system. But bugger, I did not want to let it go. I did not want to stop. I thought I'd been waiting 50 odd years to let this out, and I wasn't going to stop there. And they all went off for dinner. They all went off for the lunch, and I was sat in the middle of this thing, sobbing like a baby. And eventually I stopped. This guy came over and said, well done. He said, you went for that, and you see you let go, and I said to him there and then, I have to teach this. What do I do now? And I want to get this out. And that was it. That was my start on the Wim Hof. So then I went on and trained and became an instructor there, and then started doing that. And then I've literally, as you know, I just got back last week, and I've now added Potato certification to it. So now I can balance that circle now with the skills to help people from mild traumas to anxieties, all areas, asthma, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, just everything connected with the breath, and Wim Hof, which is great. So yeah.
What do you do day to day then? What's your practice of it? Or is it day to day, or is it?
For me, not for work.
For yourself.
For myself.
Yeah.
I always do something.
Yeah.
And if it's not breath, I'll do meditation. If it's not meditation, I'll do stretching. If not that, it'll be a cold shower or ice, or in the I've got a what we call a coffin. I've got a coffin jar, and it's just a chest freezer. And in the summer, I can regulate the cold in there. And although I haven't used it for a little while. I've got a barrel also, like a big whiskey barrel. This thing was amazing. When I got this whiskey barrel, it was fresh as a whiskey barrel. It smelled fantastic. It was vintage whiskey there. It was amazing. And I used to sit in this thing and it's just waft this, talk about getting back to nature, this oak barrel and the flowers and plants, and you'd go into this zone where you're trying to deal with the cold, and you could smell this whiskey, and fantastic. And rain, I used to love it in the rain. And go out just so I sit in the rain, and just to go deeper and deeper and find this thing inside that women found. And but anyway, I'm digressing.
I was just thinking, what happens in one of your sessions that you teach? What's the general?
Like a fundamentals.
Like? Yes, fundamentals. Fundamentals, the first one that you do.
Yeah, the fundamentals is the win. I'm classed as I'm drawn as a level 1 instructor.
Yeah.
So that gives me the opportunity to teach the fundamentals, which is the 3 pillars, which is the breath, mindset and commitment, and then the cold. And it's about a 4.5 hour course, and people come along, and we sit down, have a chat, start to try and build the connection with the group so that they start to feel comfortable and make friends, and they're only a little anxious, they know what's coming. Cold. And and then we just go a bit over the science, look at the breath in the first part, and explain how the body works, why it changes, what we're changing with our physiology and endocrine system, our cardiovascular system, how we can create energy by breathing and changing, by hyperventilating basically. And then some stretching exercises, which we start then, because if Win was sat here between us now, he would say, I'm pretty damn sure he would say, the commitment and the fundament and the mindset is the cornerstone of the other 2. Without that, as you guys know, if you haven't got the mind there, it doesn't matter what you do, you have to have that mind in the right place to make that connection with your body, don't you? And the commitment to keep getting into the cold and to keep doing the exercises and to keep practicing. And he would say the same thing. And so there's little exercises we do just you kind of become comfortable with discomfort and how to sort of feel inside the body and connect and tune, and stretching so you get that feel of discomfort that we find, and just simple things just to start to bring the person into, I can handle that, I can do that, I get this. And then we have lunch, and then we do cold. And then we show you how to warm the body from mechanical with the horse stance. You'll have seen Wim Hof do the horse stance, which is amazing. I thought it was theatre, but it isn't. It's fantastic. And it will save your life. And then we do the just a bit of how to work and how the body reacts to the cold and what happens, science of it.
Yeah, the physiology side of it, alkalines.
Yes, the physical of it. And then we go out and do the cold, and we do a couple of minutes in the cold bath, and we all sort of kind of support each other and watch this person go through this journey that they feared most of their life. And that's where the value is. That's the most wonderful thing to see. When someone's come in at the beginning and they've been told all their life that you'll catch hypothermia, you'll get frostbite, you can't do this, you must wear another jacket, you must wear another coat, you can't go out in the cold, you'll die. It's on and on and on. We all had it in all well-meaning, but all not necessarily in the right, for the right reasons. And it's made us kind of de-evolving.
Yeah. And
we're getting into these warmer environments, and our bodies aren't capable of coping with what used to be a normal thing, cold. And to suddenly see you've got to go and get into that sort of bowl of ice or box of ice, whatever you want to call it, it's quite a big thing to people. But once you see them get in and they're shown how to get in, and they see them take over the control of the breath, and we go into parasympathetic, and you see that calmness, And then the smile comes sometimes, and then the smile, and when they get out, it comes. And just to see that and to facilitate that, it makes me feel that's what I want to do this. That's why I always do this. And then when we finish, they've all done it, and that monster's gone, and that big, fear is gone, and it's just lovely. And they leave different people. That's the value, and you see this in your classes when you find people walk through that door of anxieties and fears that they have, and they realise I'm stronger than I thought I was. I can do this, and I wished I'd known this years ago, or I wished, and that says it for me really. That's the fundamentals.
I suppose you picked up on a really good point about maybe our ancestors that did have to go through extreme cold and how they were compared to the lifestyle that we lead now. Would these classes, especially the breath work for everybody? Is it for everybody? It doesn't matter if they've had a health condition or they might just be a bit anxious to come into
not necessarily the Wim Hof. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so the breath work, maybe going into the cold as well.
Yeah, breath work is okay for anybody, but not necessarily high stressful. It's a powerful breath, a Wim Hof breath. So there are certain contraindications that we would advise not to. Pregnant lady, what's the one? Oh, I've forgotten what it is now. Epilepsy, high hypertension, high blood pressure. Certainly some of these things can be dealt with and brought down with medication, and then we can bring them in and do it. And the cold is certain, like Reynolds 2, certain other conditions that you have to be careful of. But generally, it's available to everybody. The best thing is to start with the cold showers and do it gradually. But as far as breath's concerned and the mind commitment, that's available to everybody, from children right the way through to people doing Wim Hof method in the 90s and changing their lives. It's just unbelievable. But the breath, yes, we can start with the breath, just as simple as you guys know with your work. You can start with just a 4 in, 4 out, 4 in, 8 out, and parasympathetic balance those, and instantly you'll start to feel a change. So yeah, I'm talking too much, aren't I?
No. I could listen to you for hours, and obviously I've done the
because we give you a chance to ask me something.
Yeah, obviously I've done the workshop with you as well, and I felt the benefits straight away. So for somebody that wants to join the workshop, would they have to then practice the breathing quite regularly, or is it one that they can do once a week?
Do you know, Phil, it's the best thing about this, and why I love it, is there's no real dogma. And Wim would sit here and say, there's no dogma to do this. Breathing is free. That's why another thing I love about it. There's no upsell. I don't have to sell another leotard and a fancy mat to go with it. There's no subscription, there's no nothing. And you can get a cold shower, and you can go and sit in the garden, or you can sit in the bed or lie in bed and breathe. But to answer your question more specific, normally if you find something, if it clicks and you get something inside, shifts, and you get excited like I did and a lot of people do. I was doing it 2-3 times a day, the breathing. It was amazing. I was getting high on it. And then other people would do it once a day, or maybe once in the morning, once in the evening, and then find your own pace, and then but there's no dogma. You don't have to do it this, you don't have to do it that. Experiment with your own bodies, feel what works, and then relax into it and take your time and you can go from a round of 30 little breaths, and you can build it up over a period of time and do 10 rounds of 30 breaths and really go for it and take you into an altered state, but gradually, no force. Have I over-answered your question again?
No, I love it. The kind of final question for me is, could you summarise what the workshop that we run here at Central Wellness, could you just summarise what involves?
The one I'm doing?
Yes, so the introduction.
Yes. Well, we decided that because we can separate the cold from the breath, as opposed to having the full fundamentals course, it seems a shame if someone either hasn't the time or enough to invest in it, so I don't want to exclude anyone. So we came up with this where we can do the breathing. They allow us to do the breathing on its own. But I wanted to go a little bit further, and instead of just turning up for an hour and lay down, get on with the breathing, I felt that anybody would have far better connection and a far better experience if we had 20 minutes to half an hour of a little basics why, like a mini course, like a mini course. So we do the fundamental basics breathing at Central Wellness with you guys, so people can come in and just have a little bit of the science, a little bit of a practice of breath awareness, and the difference between breath awareness and breath control or conscious breathing, and then a little bit of how to use the diaphragm. So if people have not done any breathing, or people have done breathing, we all end up on the same level, and different, and the confusion of, there's so much out there and people are confused. I'm finding there's so much to, do we do it this way, do we do it that way, how am I? So if I can bring it together, and then we can go and do the Wim Hof breath, and it gives them a starting point. That was my plan, and it seems to be going well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going really well. Great feedback as well.
Yeah, I'd like to